In the last video, we talked about how the chromatic scale is offset on the ukulele fretboard. In this one, let's talk about walking through playing those notes on a single string or across all of the strings eventually, and how you will understand what the notes are called. Just so you have a practical foundational understanding of the chromatic scale and exactly how it goes, because this is very important. If you don't know this, you can't kind of deduce where the notes that you're looking for, where they live. If you know the chromatic scale, you can figure anything out from scratch. So let's have a look. We're going to start with the open A string on the bottom closest to the floor. This is going to put us playing a chromatic scale from A to get the entire octave. So we have our natural note letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and we also have our enharmonics nestled between them, except for B and C, E and F. Those are the two natural note pairs that always stick together without an enharmonic pitch between them. So with that in mind, we're going to have A, and then we go up to A sharp or B flat if we're coming from the other side of that note, because after that is B. And this is our first note pair, B, C. And there's no enharmonic here. And from C, we go to C sharp on the 4th fret, or D flat, because the next note is D. After D, there's D sharp, or E flat, because after that is E. And here's our other natural note pair, E to F, and then F sharp, or G flat, and then we have G sharp, or A flat, because after G, the letters go around again back to A. So our final note is A on the 12th fret, 1 octave higher than our open string. As far as remembering the chromatic scale, it's as simple as getting B and C and E and F in your head. I think of it as one of my students a long time ago told me, Bunny Catcher Elmer Fudd. And ever since, I've always just remembered it and taught it that way because it's so straightforward. It's a little device to help you remember what those notes are that are between. And everything else has the enharmonic sharp or flat between the natural letter notes. So when you move on to the other strings, it is the same exact thing, only starting from a different point. So on the E string, if we go one string up from the ground, we have E, Elmer Fudd, we go straight to F, no enharmonic, and then F sharp, or G flat, and then G, and then G sharp, or A flat, and then A. And here is where the ukulele gets really interesting. This A that we're playing here is the same as the open bottom string. So anything up from this point is overlapping with notes that we can also play on the bottom string. So we have choices and we have to choose when we execute music, we have to choose which place, which location on the fretboard we're going to play that note. This is where it's confusing, but also where we have a lot of freedom to change fingering patterns and kind of slip slide our way through cool expression things that you don't get when you're playing on a static instrument like the piano. If you want to play a certain note on the piano, you have to go to one location. That's all you get. That's it. But on the ukulele, it happens in several places. And while it very much leads to the complexity of what's happening here, it gives us a lot of opportunities to really play some cool stuff. So from A, we're basically just starting again from the open A string like we just did. So after this, we're going to A sharp or B flat, and then B, Bunny Catcher, to C, no enharmonic. And then from C, we go to C sharp or D flat, and then D, D sharp or E flat, and then we round out the octave with E again, same as the open pitch, right? So everything that you know about the open strings, G, C, E, A, also happens on the 12th fret, G, C, E, A. So you've already learned some of the notes that you didn't maybe know before. Just gonna really quick run through the other two strings. The principles are exactly the same. You should take time to do this on your own so that you can run through the chromatic scale, bang, 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 and get every note. And you should be able to go through it pretty speedy. You know, take your time at first to learn how it goes. but eventually you want to be able to just run right through it and have that chromatic scale be second nature, because once you know that, you can figure anything out that you need to. So the open C string, C sharp or D flat, D, D sharp or E flat, E, Elmer Fudd to F, F sharp or G flat, G, G sharp or A flat, A sharp or B flat, B, and then bunny catcher to the C octave. And then for G, we have G, G sharp or A flat, A sharp or B flat, B, bunny catcher to C, C sharp or D flat, D, D sharp or E flat, E, Elmer Fudd to F, F sharp or G flat, and then the G octave. I obviously have the low G. If you have a high G, the notes are exactly the same. The high G pitches will just be 1 octave higher than the low G, but the names are the same. Pitch changes, names stay the same. So run up and down those chromatic scales until they are second nature and begin using them as you play. If you're figuring out a melody or you're reading off of a tab, use the chromatic scale to count up and figure out what the name of the note is at a given fret where you are playing. If you are holding a chord, say you learned a new chord shape, and you're not sure what the note names are of the individual strings, break the chord down and figure out what the names of the notes are and count up. A sharp, B, C, C sharp, oh, it's a D. And you begin to learn the fretboard just kind of by osmosis by analyzing what you are playing. That is what the chromatic scale excels at. It gives you a framework for DIYing the whole process of learning chords and scales. You just need to know which pieces of the chromatic scale you use. And we'll talk about that in a future video. If you haven't already, I invite you to please register for this mini series on liveukulele.com/fretboard. The videos will be available to the public here on YouTube, but by registering, you get access to the handout packet with all of the PDFs and tabs, and also a practice regimen so that you can take these exercises and space them out over the course of several different week patterns so that you can be sure that you're evenly covering all of the stuff instead of just practicing the exercises exactly as I've laid them out in the videos, which should be very easy to do. I lay out how you can take it and take these ideas and morph them through every one of the 12 scales, every one of the different ways that you can mutate the scales across the fretboard, and ensure that you're covering all of the positions so that by the end you really have a super strong foundation of how the heck this works. So go register liveukulele.com/fretboard. It's free, of course. I'll see you over there.